Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our customer interview webinar. Today, we are welcoming Steve Sones, the Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Bartlett. He will be sharing his insights into how their city manages strategy. Interviewing Steve will be Ted Jackson, one of ClearPoint Strategy's two founders. The audience will be muted for the duration of this webinar, but we encourage you to submit any questions into the Q&A tab. Without further delay, Ted, I'll go ahead and pass things on to you.
Thanks, Jenna. And Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Bartlett and yourself?
Yeah, sure. So Bartlett is a suburb right outside of Memphis, about 60,000 people. Technically, I guess the 11th largest here in Tennessee. So I've been with the city for 22 years. Sounds like a long time to say that. But so in this current position since January of last year, and prior to that, I was a police officer, most recently working as the assistant chief of police before moving over into this position.
Great. So when you moved into this position, what was strategy like at Bartlett?
Yeah, so previously, our mayor who retired, like I said, last January, he'd been here for 20 years. His CEO had been here for an additional 12. So their plan, that long-term plan that they had in place was expiring. So you have a new administration, and ultimately you can't guide a ship without a compass. So the goal was to get in and develop what the strategy would be for Mayor Parsons and his administration going forward.
Okay. And so just to clarify for everyone else, like a CAO is a chief administrative officer. It's similar to a city manager, but in a strong mayor situation.
That's exactly right. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you had this goal of building that new strategic plan. How long did it take?
But the goal was 1 year, and we were shy about a month. So of course, there's a lot that goes into play, right? So one, we needed to find a partner to help us. There's a lot of data collection that needs to happen in regards to the public. So locally, the University of Memphis here was willing to do that. We partnered with them, which was free, by the way. So that's obviously a nice advantage. And then ultimately, you started shopping best practices. So we have an adjacent community here, the city of Germantown, who's been using ClearPoint for quite some time. So we met with them and kind of talked through how they were using it and what they were doing. And although ours may be slightly different, it's pretty much that same model. So we had a lot of excellent directors that were already in place. So ultimately, you took what the directors were wanting to see, what the mayor and our board of aldermen wanted in their vision, and ultimately what those survey results said, and tried to bundle that all together to have an internal dashboard to process and track what we're doing, and then ultimately something that we could show the public, not only to justify the end goal, but also to justify the budget and where we're spending those tax dollars.
So you went from zero to a public facing dashboard in a year?
Yep. 13 months. I have to be honest, 13 months, but yes, in 13 months we did it.
So it seems really fast. I mean, I know you're a no nonsense person, but what were some of the keys to making it go so fast?
Well, I think first was, I guess, kind of understanding the hiccups you faced before, right? So in late 2019, the city hired a consultant, and the aim was to do exactly what we just did, right? And of course, we all know what happened in March of 20. So as we were working through that process, once COVID hit, everything just kind of put on pause. Everything just stopped. And once we got back to normal, we pretty much just used that template that we had before. So ultimately, you're kind of sending in some things, all of which is via email. It became rather mundane. So you already knew walking in the door that you're going to face some kickback, right? Because of previously what we had done. Everybody was not really necessarily a fan of the process that we had in place. But ultimately, it was trying to get everybody on the same page. And some was kicking and screaming. I'm not gonna lie. But the other part was also just showing them that you're using it too, right? And you're going to be in there. You're going to be setting out goals. And when we come in and do these quarterly meetings to see where everybody's progressing, I'm going to show you where you're at. You're going to show me where you are, and we'll kind of all bundle that together. So I think so we're not working in silos. I think if there was the biggest thing that I would say previously is you had everybody doing all these great things, but all in their own little separate entities. And I think what ClearPoint and what ultimately the strategic plan helped us do is bring all that together.
Okay, so you have I imagine a citywide strategy, and then you have 11 departments.
Yes, 11 departments. Yes, sir.
And so do you have all 11 departments have their own strategic plan, or what do they call it? Is those business plans, or how do you think about it at the department?
Yeah, so basically we took an overall agenda. So we have our overall long-term plan, which is available. I mean, you can actually look at it on that external site. And then everybody has their own piece in that plan. And within that piece, KPIs, OKRs, whatever acronym you want to use, they have several objectives. Now, some of those are things that you'll never see in the long-term plan. They're internal goals that they're working on within their department. And others are those that are probably more germane to their overall mission. Right. So, like the mayor's office, I can use us as an example. Like we have several projects that we're working on right now. Those projects will ultimately expire and there'll be new ones that develop. But making sure that the citizens are satisfied with the services they're getting, making sure that Bartlett is a great place to live. These are the things that we're going to track long term, and we can implement things over time to help improve that experience for people.
Okay, and you talked about quarterly meetings. Are you meeting with uh, every department each quarter, or the departments having meetings on their own? Like, what does it look like or feel like if you're in a department?
Yeah, so I mean, you'll do like a weekly check-in period. You know what I mean? There's always something going on, in which you're conversing with one of the directors. But I guess formally, we have quarterly meetings, and so through ClearPoint, we use that automation feature that is built in. So basically, between the 1st and the 15th of every month, we're asking those departments to go in and do just a little upgrade on the process. So just kind of tell us where they are. Personally, it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour. It's not anything that's crazy. It's just updating what I've got going on. And then we'll meet every quarter. So we're fixing to do our first quarter meetings now. I actually have my first one tomorrow. We'll start those first quarter meetings. And really, when they come in, we'll show them how we're progressing. We'll discuss how they're progressing. And then just what are the pitfalls? You know what I mean? What's going well? What's not going well? What we can do to help you get to there. And is there anything else that we need to be tracking that we're not? I think that's the other thing is, well, we're working on this, we're working on that. Well, that sounds important. Why is that not in ClearPoint? And if it isn't, let's get it in there. It might not be directly related to the overall mission, but ultimately it's going to advance that department.
Yeah, good to hear your first quarter meetings are coming up. Our internal first quarter meeting is actually this Thursday, so
okay. Well, there you go. Yeah,
we're on the same timeline. So I know you said it wasn't all smooth sailing, and that you got to get 11 departments in 1 year, kind of moving on a process. Any tips or tricks to pulling people along that are maybe a little more resistant?
Well, I mean, it's change. And I think anytime you've tried, drastic change within a group, like there's going to be kickback. And, I say nobody likes change. I love change, but that doesn't mean that, I'm probably an anomaly when it comes to that. So getting everybody behind and understanding what we're doing was tough in the beginning. I think ultimately you're able to show them what the overall mission is. And you made it a little light too, right? I mean, so it's not, I say light, but we had I don't know what you call it, like a little social event with all of our directors a couple weeks ago. So we're all going to meet at a pickleball place. We're going to play pickleball together. We had like a little leadership person get up there and talk. And the fire chief made a remark about, it sounds like something that should go in ClearPoint. He's making fun of me because that's what I always say, right? So you're creating culture, I guess, ultimately, not to be cheesy, but that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a culture that wasn't really there before. Sometimes it takes, again, a little kicking and screaming and pulling. And then the other time it's just understanding that it is a process. It's going to take time, and some are going to be more resistant or have more difficulties with it than others. But as long as we're pulling in the right direction and you can get them behind that, and I think that's where we are now, it's much smoother.
Right. No, it sounds great. It sounds like you're at least putting strategy at the front of everyone's mind as they kind of work through their daily jobs. Do you want to, well, Can we see some of it? Can we
Yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
like how the magic happens at Bartlett?
Yeah. So the first one I'll show you is, can you see my screen?
We can.
All right, so this is what is the mayor's dashboard. So when we come to one of those quarterly meetings that I was talking about, like this is kind of what we'll see. So you see the snapshots just like anybody has already. And then ultimately there's a department overview. Now you'll notice like the long-term plan is finished, right? The external dashboard went live March 1st. But I'll tell them that. And then when we go through next month, then I'll archive it. You know what I mean? We'll have something else that'll end up popping up. Streetlight conversion projects. We did so got some EOC grant funding, but everything is in here to kind of show them where we are. And then we use this kind of after action. So, and everybody probably does this differently. This is just how we do it. But the after action is more, okay, where were our trouble spots? Where were our trouble spots? So what do we have? So the street conversion project is behind. You know, why is it behind? And what can we do to help it out? We're doing currently an employee survey. So we finished the survey of the public. Now we want to see where our employees are, what we can do to kind of enhance their environment. So we're working through that right now. Now I actually did delete this one beforehand. We do just so I didn't show every economic development thing we have coming to the city, but we use this project update meeting as a way for us to track every month. We'll have planning and codes and engineering come in. And we'll really just talk about what's on the horizon. So, you know, X is coming to town. Where are we at on that status, whatever. And then we use that as kind of like a meeting notes, if you will. And we'll go back and kind of check those out. And then just really everything is here already. So you got all those things that are already here, your analysis, recommendations. Again, like I said before, we would archive this after the first quarter meetings. I kind of notate that, just giving them an update of where we are. And then the other two that you didn't see up top are those two I kind of mentioned them before, but satisfaction with city services and satisfaction with Bartlett as a place to live. So I'll click over to this. So now this is our external dashboard. And these are kind of our focus areas that are all down here. So every department has something. So finance, obviously, and economic vitality has a ton of stuff that's under this category. But for the mayor's office and the ones I just showed you, community engagement is typically where we are. So the public can simply click on this. They can scroll down to either or, and it kind of just gives you a progress update of where we are. So currently, satisfaction with city services is 87%. Our aim is 90. So we'll survey the public again in the fall of this year and try to update those annually. So you know, some things is like, how are we going to improve this, right? Might be a question. Well, just simply updating our website. You know what I mean? Getting things a little more user friendly. We're based on some of the survey results we've got rid of one software. We're implementing another software to make business licenses and all those onboarding processes a lot better. So if you're a developer and you're coming in, it's very easy for you to go do this. You want to pay your water bill, like you've got an automated way to do this. It's a little bit cleaner than it was before. So just simply removing some redundancies. We'll see how effective we are, obviously, at the end of the year.
You're
And
a
then
hard grader. You're only 3% off on your satisfaction. You're rare.
it's not where we need to be though. We gotta get there. And then Bartlett as you know, is basically a good place to live. So 94% of respondents, you know, voted Bartlett is excellent or a good place to live. But the things that we noticed and areas that we want to improve out of there is like what they really lacked was things to do. So we got affordable homes, we got a good school system, we got a safe community. But what we need is things for people to do. So we've got Food Truck Fridays and a summer fitness series and a summer concert series that will all be starting in May, kind of staggered throughout the summer and leading into October. So the goal, while we're economic development, unfortunately doesn't happen overnight. I wish it did. I wish you could just call X company and they just open up a business and it'd be that easy. It just takes time. So in the interim, you know, what could we do as a city to kind of give our community more things to do? And this is one way we're trying to do that.
Excellent. And I saw it. Is that where like results from working with the University of Memphis?
Yeah,
Kind of
all these are based on those
is?
results. Yeah. Sorry, Ted, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, all these are based on results. So this is basically what the survey results yielded. And, you know, this is obviously something we need to track, right? We want to make sure that people are happy with Bartlett as a place to live and ultimately want to live here. So whatever we can do to advance that narrative, we want to do.
Now we see a lot of organizations, say, oh, well, I'm going to get like a ClearPoint, for my city up and running in the first year. In the second year, I'm going to focus on my departments and maybe the beginning of year three, so 24, 25 months in, I'm going to focus on a public facing dashboard. You got all this in 1 year. So, um, is that from your, police background and your ability just to GSD and
I really don't know. To be honest with you, I had nothing to compare it to. So, I mean, you come from the police side. It's like we set a goal. What would be realistic? We thought 1 year was realistic, and we did everything we could to get it done. So there was no metric. You know what I mean? Had you said before, well, it's typically a 3-year process. Well, maybe we wouldn't have been so fast, but actually, we still would have been fast because this is one of those things that I don't believe you can lead anywhere. You can get anywhere unless you know where you're actually going, and everybody's got to be on board to do that. So, putting off or delaying or whatever, yes, it was a lot of work. Yes, it's fluid. It's not going to be this pretty little perfect picture that's going to fit in a box and be simple. But if you can leverage the relationships with which you have, which is what we did with the University of Memphis, and then ultimately use ClearPoint. And I'm not saying this is a sales pitch, but like Marissa, who was there with us in onboarding, she was pushing us. We gave her the goal and she was pushing us to meet our benchmarks. And then once we got that internal dashboard set, the next piece was taking those survey results and basically forwarding them all into that long-term plan. And that's where DeAndre comes in. So they're setting dates and goals for you, just like you're setting for your team. And ultimately, I think that's what brought it together. It was like, look, this is our goal. Like, this is where we're going to be. And it still irks me that we were 1 month off. I'm not going to lie, but we got it done. But again, I think their prompting, you know what I mean, that you got somebody back there also supporting you on the back end too helps. So doing check-ins, like I know that I've got to talk to Marissa today or DeAndre today, and I got to tell them where we are. So I got to make sure that I've done my part to get there. And so I'm happy with the way it worked out. But the goal for us is to use it and not just let it sit. And I think that's the one thing that I want to make sure doesn't happen. It's easy to do all this work, and then basically say, okay, good, we did it, we got it. Well, no, this is a living, breathing document. It's always going to change. So we've got to work together.
yeah, one of the things that I saw in there that I really liked on your internal dashboard, uh, and it kind of gave me some indication of how you got there so quickly, is it was structured, but it was also structured like a report that someone would be familiar with. Like, give me an executive summary, tell me what you're doing next, like, tell me what the problems are. Like, it was it was text heavy in the sense that it was something someone would be reporting up to their manager anyway. And then you broke down that executive summary. You didn't show me 40 key objectives. You showed about 5 key objectives. And then you showed, tell me what happened this last period and what are we doing next? So the approach, you know, like it's still impressive that you get 11 departments working kind of all together, in 6 to 8 months before you even get that dashboard built. It's you took, I think, what would be something that's like, I could imagine, and maybe this isn't the way it works, so correct me where it's different. I could imagine you saying to a department head, you're reporting it anyway. We're just going to provide a little bit more structure to that report and give you a way to see your history, and we can all now have a common template or something like that.
That's exactly how you sold it. Like again, everybody's working in their own little groups, and we all got a million different things going on. But the more information we could put in here, like ultimately it's the same thing with like I just described with a long-term plan. Like I'm there to support you too, right? So what can I do to help you get where you need to get? Now, sometimes that's money. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes I say, yeah, I just need cash and I can get this done. Well, that's not always so easy. I wish it was, but I mean, like, what can we do to help facilitate a way for you to complete your objectives and keep moving forward? And I think the whole, KISS method, right? I mean, let's keep it simple. And I think that probably was a little police stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what you do. And after action meetings, you kind of go over what happened. And that template was something I was familiar with. So it was an easy way to communicate that to them. But it was also easier to get buy-in because it's not so, you know, I guess cumbersome. It's just a simple little deal. You're basically just giving me an update of where you are, some of which we probably already talked about. But it's a way to refresh my memory if I need to, just to keep everything current and I guess the most current, really probably the best way to put it, just the most current as possible.
No, it's great. Were you able to see um, opportunities for better alignment across the departments? Like once you get everyone into a common template, so to speak, or common reporting structure, I imagine you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should get these couple of departments together.
Well, that's the whole reason for that project meeting. So I mentioned that one little piece that I kind of took out of there just so I didn't
Right.
divulge everything we had in the hopper. Like, that planning and engineering and code are working hand in hand on projects, including our fire marshal's office, which I left them out. But you bring all of them together. Like, how could we bring all them together to talk? And ultimately, that's what we're doing. Now, we're doing it formally in a meeting, right, to go over everything. And then we're basically just taking those notes and putting them into ClearPoint as a reminder. But there's always takeaway items in there too. So, if you're the director of planning, well, you need to call X and you need to follow up on this. And so all those things are layered in there too. So when we come back to that next meeting, it's like, all right, what happened with this one? You know what I mean? We clearly know that, Ted as the planning director was supposed to call whoever and get an update on, whatever happened. And so we can use all those things also as a way to just make sure we're staying on task and ultimately make sure that we're moving forward.
And I saw, or at least I heard you say, you send out like an automated monthly reminder, but you only meet with them quarterly. So
That's
during those, I know you do some regular check-ins, but do you kind of check in at the end of the reporting period and say, look, it looks like you didn't get in there. You might want to make some more updates.
That would be the only thing. Like, you got to do it. Sometimes it's not that. That would be the one thing that I think takes a little time, and it doesn't. Which departments. I'm not. You know what I mean. I'm not like where your laggards are going to be a little bit when it comes to that. But I give it a once over. I'm not trying to inundate them with a bunch of emails about make sure you get your updates in or whatever. They're already getting those. But it wouldn't be not unheard of for us to have a check-in call about something and me ask how they're coming, in ClearPoint, because I noticed that, it wasn't updated yet. So you try not to push them too hard. I mean, that's not the aim here. The aim is to get everybody on the same page and work together. Usually if there's some issues, you'll deal with it in the quarterly. But like I said, I think those are behind us. I mean, like, we did have that in the beginning, and it was more so just not understanding, maybe what the aim was, what you're needing, or just getting familiar with the software. Sometimes that's the other piece is just, getting in there and just kind of playing around a little bit and seeing what you need to do, which is another reason why you kept it simple. Because if we layered all this stuff in there, it's just going to make it more complicated. So I mean, honestly, we don't really have that issue as much now as we did in the beginning. But yes, I do still kind of glance over it every month, just see how everybody's doing. And some people have some big projects. So as opposed to, maybe making a phone call about something we just talked about last week, but I knew they were doing it, I might check in and just kind of see how it's going, especially if it's the end of a month.
Right. So if the mayor's new, this must seem normal, uh, to him, but you have probably some longer term aldermen, which for anyone who doesn't have aldermen, it's like a city council. Uh, like, have you gotten reactions from them or reactions from others who've been there for a while who are like who kind of see the change? And is it like, what do you hear?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot, I say a lot, but some of our aldermen are retired. They came from, the corporate world. And so their question is, well, why weren't we doing this already? I don't have an answer for that. This is what we're doing, and of course they played a part in all of this as well. So, we leaned on them. We had several work sessions with them to not only convey the survey results, but ultimately to get their feedback on the direction that we needed to go. Because, I mean, the other part of this strategic plan is to use the data that we've compiled, and what ultimately the city wants is when I come to you and say, hey, look, we need to fix this sewer problem, you know what I mean? And it's going to cost X, but it's going to open up all of this, and how important that is to our overall infrastructure. I, I think I ain't got to do a whole lot of selling. You know what I mean? The selling's already been done. They've seen where we're going. They know what's on the horizon. This is not new to them. So it's a little cleaner when you're trying to get big things done that you might consider to be a pretty heavy lift, because it's already laid out.
No, that's great. So you accomplished a lot in year one. What do you have planned for 2024 with ClearPoint, really with your strategic planning process overall?
Yeah, so the employee survey, I'd mentioned that before. That's a big deal. So University of Memphis, again, they're doing that as well. I just got the results back. Actually Friday, I've got a meeting with them today at 1 to go over those results. But that's definitely going to be some additional layers, right? Based on just the preliminary results, I know there's going to be some things that we'll want to kind of improve upon, and those will be goals for us to continue to track. The other part is, so the public and our aldermen, because we had a few new aldermen as well, wanted to make sure that the public had access to everything, and so did the mayor. So we made a point to get this website up for the public to come view, but ultimately we haven't had a lot of traction to it, and we pushed it. I mean, we're constantly pushing on social. You're trying to drop it in. So I want to also push people there to see what's going on in the city as well. So paving is one big concern. A lot of people bring that up all the time. So we're working on a GIS map that ultimately we could link through ClearPoint to where you could see, if you live on this street, yes, we'll be paving, on X, or that you're slated to be paved later this year, whatever. So we can kind of maybe update some of those things to help. And then there's a new feature I've been talking to DeAndre about, and we haven't implemented yet. We're going to go over it in these quarterlies, but basically just using AI. There is an AI system that's currently available in ClearPoint. I've only played with it once, I'll be honest. So, I mean, I want to get in there and kind of show them how that would work, but it looked like it basically just takes what you're currently doing and kind of puts it into a format for you, which might streamline some of the stuff that they're trying to do monthly. So that might help a little bit just to get that little last bit of buy-in that we're looking for.
No, that's great. The ClearPoint's got some great ability to embed GIS on the inside, and then when you publish it, it would also stay published. So that should be pretty straightforward. And as you said, the AI stuff, what we see it really helpful with is some people are just really good at reading spreadsheets and kind of looking at dense data, and then other people love just to read the prose part of it, and the AI can help translate that and also find some insights in there for you. So one last question: if you were just getting started with this, if you could rewind the clock, I'll say 13 months rather than 12 months.
Right.
What kind of advice would you give somebody who's just getting started? Just with, you can answer both, just with strategic planning and then also with ClearPoint.
Well, I think with strategic planning is to be open. I think sometimes you go into those processes with a very narrow view of what you think should be accomplished. So we took a little different approach. We want to be open. Like, not only the mayor, and we have 6 aldermen, but 3 of them had just been elected. So you had a fresh set of voices that were coming in saying, this is what the community's asking for. We also had a dozen directors, you know what I mean, across the city that have been here for umpteen years, and they knew what they needed to get done internally as well. So we brought both of those together and then ultimately used the University of Memphis to vet it, right? So you go in there and you tell us what we think is the most important, as opposed to just going, no, this is what we know the community wants, this is what we're going to do. I think your strategic plan needs to be built around all of that to make sure it encompasses everything that's necessary. And then as far as ClearPoint goes, I think the goal is just to be persistent, be fluid, and ultimately lead from the front. I think nobody likes to be asked to go do something and then that person is not doing it. I think the point is to, show them what the system can do. Like, I mean, sometimes I think when we had quarterlies, when we were getting started, I was acting as like I work for ClearPoint and I'm Marissa and I'm showing somebody how to do something because they were still trying to figure it out. So But the fact that I was able to do that, I think helped. It wasn't just lip service. I wasn't telling you, this is what I want you to do. I'd been in there and done it. I've been playing with it. I knew how to do it. So I think that helped to show them that everybody was on the same page. And I think ultimately it has brought us together, and not, ClearPoint, the long-term plan, et cetera. You don't hear many government entities doing team building exercises. And I don't think we would have been able to do that in previous years. And it's nothing negative. You know what I mean? It's just, you were able to ultimately, what you're trying to do is build a team. And that team can't work if the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. So ClearPoint helped bring all that together, and so did that long-term plan. So it's worth the effort, but it is going to be effort.
No, that's great. That's great. Great advice. And Steve, I really appreciate you taking the time with me today. I look forward to seeing the Bartlett ClearPoint pickleball team.
Yeah.
Doing,
Won't be much to say. Won't be much to say for sure.
Thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ted. Y'all take care.